Hello and welcome to the long-awaited and highly anticipated Nigel's Views episode 7. I left you guys for a very, very long time because, everybody and their mother got COVID and unfortunately affected Spurs. And as someone who for a long time has been craving a Spurs that I'm proud to support, I caught myself a bit off guard because I think there was a long break from the 5th to the 19th of December where we didn't have a game. And I just thought to myself, like, wow, I really miss Spurs. Like, I really do. As much as bad feelings have come when I've been watching Mason, Mourinho, Nuno, I miss Spurs again, which is nice, you know. But I think since we last spoke, a lot has happened. So we're just gonna go through the league situation, the EFL, the Conference League. There's been a bunch of stuff. So I'm gonna skim over a few topics that I feel like are a bit meh. But first and foremost, please leave a like, subscribe. Any support you show is really appreciated. And Wayne Bonner, thank you so much for that super chat. Really appreciate it. That's my first ever one, so start something, I guess. Right now, if I go with the league first, no, let's go with the EFL. Let's start there because I have a lot to say about the league overall. So the EFL, we have a semi-final. We have a semi-final against Chelsea, and the thing about this EFL, like, it almost feels like you look up and you're in the quarterfinals. It just feels like you just arrive at the quarterfinals, and then you win a game and you're in the semis. So big game against Chelsea, another London derby. And if there's one team that I get PTSD over semi-finals and the big games is Chelsea, because I get the sense that Chelsea could be like a bunch of homeless like men just to take over their squad, and given a game against Spurs, I feel like they will show whatever the motivation it takes to win those games, because they wake up to play Spurs, especially in a big game. I think the pedigree plays a big kind of role in that. And the only thing that does give me confidence is it's Conte. It is Conte. Last time we went into a semi-final against Chelsea, was it quarter-final against Chelsea? Last year with Jose Mourinho, we hijacked it. Mourinho was telling them, we don't care about this game, blah, blah, blah. Came out with a poor team. Like, it wasn't even our best 11. Coco Lamela came in, scored a late goal that took us into extra time or penalties, and we ended up getting through. And, it's doable. It's doable. The games that give me a bit of PTSD are obviously that semi-final where Matic thunderbolt into the top corner, and the year that we were looking to win the league and Chelsea were just not good at all, and Eden Hazard just turned it back on and was unbelievable. Scored that beautiful goal, and it kind of, I think the blood between us and Chelsea, I think they always wake up to play against us no matter what form they're in. We could be catching them at a good time. We could be definitely catching them at a good time. Lukaku's kind of infiltrated some kind of bad juju on that team at the moment. He's let off a bit of a stink bomb there, and in terms of performances, they don't look like themselves as formidable as they were at the beginning of the season. Things aren't coming naturally and easily to them anymore. They're kind of grinding out a lot more games than they were. So, you know what? We're on a good roll. I do fancy us against Chelsea more than I would have a couple of months ago, but you know what? Let's win that game first. I'm not ruling out Chelsea at all. They will wake up to play against us, but it's a semi-final, and it's a two-legged semi-final. There's no stealing that. It's we're gonna have to be the better team over two legs, which I don't know how you steal that game, but with Conte, not ruling it out. And obviously we've had the Conference League, kicked out of the Conference League, which I'm going to be honest with you, I do not care at all. Like, I've looked at it both ways. I've thought, you know what? I don't care about it as a trophy. I'll be honest. Like, as a trophy, to me, it's like, remember when the traditional Big Four were in the Champions League, right? It was Champions League, nothing else. And then the final was, I mean, Chelsea won it one year. Was it against Sevilla? I think it was against Sevilla, something like that. Man United got involved in it, won it against was it Villarreal? And then we had the Arsenal Chelsea final as well. And ultimately, it stopped being the Europa League. It started being European trophy. So that narrative kind of fell off as soon as the bigger clubs started siphoning into the Europa League, started actually winning it. Suddenly, it's not like the BTEC Champions League. It's now European trophy, and now people are putting that on their CVs. So, but I say all that to say, had Tottenham won that trophy, the winner of that trophy determines the esteem that the trophy is held in, right? The whole point of us wanting to win a trophy, number one, it adds to our club history, kind of. It adds to the monkey off our back, and also, I mean, what's the point of football other than winning trophies, right? You want to win big trophies. Having said that, the same reason we don't accept the Audi Cup, which is a trophy, if you want to go off that, is the same reason this was going to be a bunch of nonsense, because no one's in it and no one cares. It has no history, it has no prestige. So, based on that, completely meaningless trophy to me. Like, it wasn't going to do anything for us. However, I do see the people who say it's a trophy. To be honest, it's the weakest argument for me in that regard for staying in. For me, the only reason I want to stay in, number one, there's players on our team, younger players who, I mean, if I was Conte, I'd literally consider just sending just no one, like just no one in the first team. I'd consider just sending out Dele, sending out even Dane Scarlett, Harvey White. I don't even care. Like, just text me the results if I'm Conte. Just go out and get those players some game time. Maybe even GLC, or a bunch of players. I'd much rather use it for that. And because a lot of players will be getting squeezed out. And a lot of young players could have had a chance to get some minutes. I mean, we found Harry Kane using the Europa League, right? That's where we once were. We were in Europa League playing our BTEC guys. And now we're in the Conference League we were having to pull out the big guns just to stay around, right? And to me, I wouldn't have cared. I'd have said to the younger players, listen, this goes as far as you let it. And if you want game time, win these games. And if you lose, fine, we are where we are now, right? And yeah, that's one thing. And another thing is a trophy campaign within a season. Just having that ability to juggle and learning how to keep a trophy campaign going throughout a season, the pressures, keeping the stay ready squad. I don't know. I feel like it would prep us. It wouldn't necessarily get the monkey off our back, but it would prep us. You know, it's practice for a real trophy, one that we care about. So in terms of that, I don't mind, but I much rather see the benefits, because I was noticing, I mean, nowadays, every game that we watch, we have to preface it by saying that Højbjerg is tired. We were having to preface every Kane performance by saying he's tired, every other Son performance by saying he's tired. Like, so I'm fine without having to travel to these outback pitches that it just wasn't worth it to me, because we weren't good enough to be sending out the players that would, even though we should have been, we just weren't good enough to be sending out our BTEC players in the end, because we were in it to win it. It was clear Conte wanted to win it, and if we were in it to win it, I think the risk reward there was just useless. It was pointless. I don't care about winning that trophy. I think winning is the last benefit I was happy to receive from that trophy. As backwards as that sounds, as I say, no one cares. It would have been the equivalent of the Audi Cup. It's just not it doesn't have the history. It doesn't have anything for us to cling on to, as a trophy that we can look back on and say, look at that. We're not remembering that as fans. That's not going to quench our hole for the thing. So that's where I'm with that Conference League. I mean, I have to say though, the fact that they kicked us out, I don't know if the appeal process is happening. Honestly, as you've seen, I haven't cared enough to keep up with that. But the fact that they've kicked us out for not being able to play a game, and they kind of just set a loose deadline, like I just imagine Conte and the other manager just texting each other saying, "Are you free next Wednesday?" It just seemed extremely like it was at the bottom of the pile, and whoever was head of UEFA just said, let them sort it, and we couldn't, and they just said, who cares? That's what it felt like to me. It was unfair to throw us out if we had intentions of staying in. However, for me, I don't care. I really don't. And we go to the Premier League. So with the Premier League right now, we are 2 points off top four with 2 games in hand. And I have to say, with Nuno, I'm going to be honest, like, the league never looked bad. Like, we were never a million point. Granted, he didn't have many games to go a million points behind in the top 4 race. But, like, we were never out of it. And this is what I'm happy with right now. You may remember, those of you who've been watching Paxton for a while now, me and Darius were for a while saying we need to get rid of Jose, and we were saying react proactively. This time we have reacted proactively at the right point. We haven't fired him. We haven't fired Nuno the day before a final. We have everything to play for in the league, and we are still early in the competitions that we're in, to a point where we're not putting an interim manager in at the most critical point of our season, right? And we've reacted proactively. We've got Nuno out of there because we saw it wasn't going to work, and we've put someone in who's gonna now. We're going into these with confidence, right? We're still in the race. We're not putting him in with like a mountain to climb, right? I'm looking at that now, and I'm saying we have a really good shot at this, especially if United, everyone who thought United were going to cakewalk to that top 4, we thought it was set in stone almost, all to play for. And you know what? I'm almost expecting. Do you know what I mean? I'm almost expecting top 4 now. I just think Conte's changed the vibe around this club. I'm excited to watch this again. And I have to say though, the last few games we had, who did we have? So we had the Liverpool game, which honestly, I think we absolutely threw away 2 points there. Absolutely threw. And in the end, we actually are an Alisson mistake away from losing that game. And it does remind me of the Bergwijn game with Mourinho, when Mourinho just kept saying, the better team lost. And the better team drew. Like, this time around, we walk away with a draw. Because, I mean, Alisson was unreal. He kind of owed us one. But we very nearly lose that game. Say what you want about the ref's decisions. I mean, the Kane one, I could be the only person in the world who thinks that the Kane one was a yellow card, because I think he keeps them low enough. He keeps his feet low enough. Granted, he's coming in with a lot of momentum and it looks dangerous. However, it's one-footed and he keeps it low enough. If Robertson is just standing there, he 2000% breaks his foot, and he's done well to save his career there. But I mean, he scored a goal. He's buzzing around. He's flying. It was a good goal too. Like, I 100% understand how that challenge ends up happening. And to be honest, I think it's a yellow card. Having said that, I could again be the only person in the world who's not convinced that the Robertson challenge was a red. Because to me, he clearly makes a play on the ball. Like, it's not a 2-footer challenge. It just looks way worse than it is, because at the very last minute, Emerson swivels his body around because he sees obviously the ball's exposed. He just swivels his body around to cover it at the very last minute, and a challenge that was 100% an attempt to play the ball becomes an absolute like absolute clanger on Emerson. And yeah, I can see how calls for both to be a red were made, and I understand I'm in the minority. So you win some, you lose some. Having said that, Liverpool then score a goal where, I mean, the hand is an absolutely critical part. Like Mo Salah's hand is an absolutely critical part of that goal even happening, because without his hand, the ball goes out, right? So Mo Salah handballs it, and then it gets crossed in. Literally two touches, it ends up a goal. So Mo Salah handballs it, drops into Trent's path, who then crosses it first time into Jota, who heads it in. And to me, if we have cameras and we see Mo Salah handle the ball, I could care less if it was deliberate or not. It does not matter. It's literally handball, touch, goal. It's literally, I don't understand why it has to be deliberate. To me, that hand is the most, is a critical part of a goal. It's literally two touches from when the goal was scored. So for me, that's the most ridiculous decision of them all, and we kind of are just going along with it. Yeah, I have a lot to say about the refereeing. To be fair, it's especially this weekend. It's been a bit all over the shop. I mean, last week I saw Rudiger just sprawl. He just sprawled into Lamptey. It was like, what? A yellow card. Everyone just moved on. I'm like, okay. Yeah. So we then also had. So that's 2 drop points. We then have the game against Southampton. We come out looking very flat. What's his name? Who got the red? I can't remember the name of the guy who got the red, but they end up with a red card. But they are playing much better than us. And we managed to draw level, and we struggle to do anything else really. I mean, the match stats looked great, and we can feel as injustice as we want. Hold on. We can feel as entitled to the 3 points as we want in the end. However, you'd when you look at match stats like that, you're anticipating either lack of clinical ability or the keeper had an absolute blinder. And to be honest with you, neither of those things happened. We just didn't create clear opportunities. We had the Kane goal disallowed, and for me, I've always said, right, there's no way, if you're going to be that particular, there's just no way of knowing the correct moment that a ball was kicked. And I kind of thought they were saying that they were gonna thicken the lines or something, which to me then just means that we're still gonna have extremely close decisions, because 0.01 centimeters past the point that you thicken the line is going to be a tight decision. So, and I've actually noticed they've kind of stopped showing us a lot of the replays, because I think they just don't want the fans being too mad about it, and referees are just essentially pulling out a yellow card as fast as possible for anything, and then just saying no. And if they're told to go to their monitor, it's 100% gonna be given. So that's just there's been a lot of bottling with referee decisions. I mean, as us as fans, I've seen a lot of us saying, "Oh, it was onside. I mean, you can't argue it was onside, because from the still images, the rule's ridiculous. But to make the case that it was onside, I don't see it. But having said that, yeah, it was our one and only chance really, where we can say that one was harsh. But other than that, we didn't do a lot. Kane took it extremely confidently, took it in a stride, and placed it very well. You know what Kane is to me right now? He's like a robot in early development, right? So there's glitches. Every once in a while you see Kane, and then every once in a while you see just this lumbering just block of a man just struggling. Sometimes he's Kane that we know from last season, the few seasons before that actually, and then sometimes the game just looks so hard. And I said like sometimes it's not his fault. Like I look at a lot of situations, I say to be fair, like he couldn't have done anything about that. But at the same time, the game never looked that hard for him before. It just looks really hard for him right now. A lot of things that were coming off, a lot of things that, and we're getting closer, but he's really working himself back to where it was, like really slowly. But we're getting more and more glimpses now. He's flying around a hell of a lot more. I was happy when I saw him do that tackle on Robertson. He looks 100% fit. That's what I'll say. No, I've noticed like he's willing to fly around now. And I think one thing I've noticed, he's definitely more selective with when he's dropping in. Before he was just dropping in for the sake of it. Sometimes the ball would the fullbacks would have the ball headed towards the byline, and Kane would actually come out of the box to sit on the edge to sit on the edge, and wait for the ball to be kicked out. Because I think he just fell in love with it. He fell in love with it. He found a new toy, and he just played with it to death to a point where it became counterproductive and completely predictable. And yeah, I'm glad. That's one thing Conte's changed with him. He's in the box a lot more, albeit completely idle and just yeah. I mean, I'll come on to that later. I'll blast through a couple of players and situations, and then I'll get on to like more serious things going forward. So I think if I look at some of our midfielders, right, if I look at Winks, if I look at Dele, those two seem to be trending in completely different directions. I think Winks is a fighter, man. Like fair play to him, because I thought his bags were packed. Really, he's done well to put himself in the grace of Conte, and Conte's kind of confirmed that he's gonna stay. Granted, a lot of the time I still see him being dawdling on the ball, kind of making wrong decisions. But I have to say, I mean, for what Spurs have got, what we've got in midfield, I don't think the team is good enough to kind of shun him. Do you know what I mean? Where our midfield isn't good enough for us to just be like, oh, he can go wherever, because he did provide some key passes for us. Definitely in the Southampton game. That he's had a couple of really good forward passes, and I don't know. I've never subscribed to this idea that Winks is a sideways passer, and I think as again, if you're a religious Paxton viewer, we had the episode again when we did our end of season review, and everyone was bashing Winks, and I was kind of reluctant to bash him, because I've played football whilst being extremely low on confidence, and to me Winks strikes me as an extremely vulnerable guy, and he just looked completely unrecognizable to me during the Mourinho era. So I wasn't ready to say that that's Winks. I'm not the biggest Winks fan in the world by any means, but I think he's been getting peppered, and I'm glad he's getting a fair shake to kind of show the player he is again, because Winks has had some good performances in his time for Tottenham. He is a Tottenham lad. He does love the club, and I think for me, Winks is just kind of deconstruction under Mourinho was the one that I resonated with most. I felt sorry for him more than I wanted to get angry at him, because he was unrecognizable, and you could see that he was playing without confidence, and he's working himself back. On the other hand, Dele, again, I'm not going to talk about Dele for long. Like he's just not. I don't have to say much about how I feel about Dele, to be honest. I don't see it, and I mean he had a good game against Liverpool, but how many times do you want to do this? Do you know what I mean? How many times do you want to do this? And then the Cramp twins. I'm calling them the Cramp twins. Lo Celso and Tungi. Tungi, I think the writing's on the wall for him. I did say I don't think Conte's falling for these con men anymore, and I think Tungi is a bit of a con man. He's his I don't know what he's doing, to be honest with you. I don't know what he's doing behind the scenes that's so just immediately just despicable to all managers. But clearly there's something there, and yeah, writing's on the wall. If funds need to be raised, Levy, I think, is just going to have to accept the major losses on that one. And to be honest, Conte probably didn't do us massive favours by essentially claiming that he didn't claim anything, but I mean, and I think after that press conference when he clarified very graciously for us that he's a midfielder, I don't think we're going to be able to push a hard bargain on that one. It's quite clear that we do want him gone. Conte's made it. He said he's had his assessment of the players, and I think we all know where he stands with Ndombele, and I think teams are going to know that there's a talented player available at a ready bargain, because we have to sell. Do you know what I mean? We've got things to do. If I look at Lo Celso back in the fold, I think to be fair, Lo Celso deserves as much criticism as Tungi gets. So I mean, I don't have a lot to say, but I just hate singling out Ndombele when I feel like Lo Celso is doing much worse on the pitch. Like, honestly, much worse. And yeah, I'm honestly fine with him also being sold. I know there's a lot of us who want to believe in him because he's left-footed with those like inwards feet. He's short and he looks like he has flair and stuff like that. But for me, not doing it. And I'm not going to call out Ndombele in isolation like he's the only one who's guilty of this. So if I call out Ndombele, I'm going to call out Lo Celso for as long as that happens for. So that's just me being impartial. If I address, right, so clearly in our last few games, teams have won. In our last couple of games, teams have wanted us to win it from our wide positions, right? So a lot of games are coming down to Doherty, a lot of games are coming down to Reguilon, a lot of games are coming down to Emerson Royale and the quality of the balls that they can produce, right? To me, the quality of our left backs going forward is just honestly quite bad. And I mean, after watching City's game, the quality that we were able to produce with, just in terms of consistent crosses, putting ourselves in threatening positions, we were mightily predictable. Our fullbacks looked significantly less capable of doing anything of any kind of creativity or menace. To me, Emerson, I'm pleasantly surprised by him defensively. I think he's competent going forward. Reguilon, I don't know. To me, he's passable. He's not doing anything that makes me think get him out, but he's not doing anything for me that makes me say anything. He's just out there. Do you know what I mean? And the quality of their balls is not such that I'm worried. I'm optimistic at any point where they go forward. I kind of know how most of our attacks are going to end at this point. Especially Southampton, especially Watford, who I'm very happy we beat, by the way, because I think what they did with Dennis was something that they would never do with any other major tournament. If a European tournament was on, if a America's tournament was on, believe me, Dennis would be on a plane to that tournament. So they had it coming to them. I'm glad we did beat them, and I hope they do go down. Yeah, to me, I think Reguilon is just out there running. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a lot of pep, there's a lot of clapping and passion and likability. Sounds like I'm describing Højbjerg, to be honest, but to me, The quality isn't great. I'd keep him, but the quality isn't great. And one thing, I don't know how many people aside from me are kind of calling out for this, but to say how many goals Harry Kane has scored, I think he's got prejudice against easy goals. He's got prejudice against tap-ins, which, to me, like, the best strikers we've seen get a healthy dose of tap-ins. And for me, no one, Harry Kane especially, he does not know how to kind of either delay a run by kind of hitting the brakes as he arrives. Just timing is having that understanding of his fullbacks. I don't know how many of you have seen Berbatov describing his hat trick, and he's watching Rooney sprint it. Like, he sprays the ball out from halfway to Nani in an advanced position, and Wayne Rooney sprinting and kind of he's with Gary Neville and Gary's saying, what's going through your head at this point, because you're literally just basically at a trot getting up the pitch. And Berbatov's like, I'm looking at Rooney running and I'm just thinking, why? Because Berbatov's in his head thinking, Nani, 3 step overs, 4 step overs, and then he crosses it. So I'm not going to arrive late and be static in the box, right? And he jogs, and Johnny on the spot, he's arriving onto the ball and he wallops it in, right? To me, I see a lot of when we get the ball out wide, if this is how we plan on beating teams, we can't have idling players in the box when it gets into dangerous positions. We get players hiding behind opposition defenders, players peeling off to the back post when we don't have anyone great in the air. I mean, Lucas is competent in the air. He's better than he should be. Kane is decent in the air. He's good for a near post clearance. Do you know what I mean? But we don't have a Ronaldo. We don't have a Llorente, a Peter Crouch. Like, no one's living off back post thudding headers. Like, so to me, either a midfielder, of which Højbjerg, Winks haven't got the instinct to arrive late, and I know who you're gonna say, but no, have not got the instinct to arrive late. And Kane, as I say, he does not like an easy goal because he's not running in hitting the brakes. He's not timing his run to bust a gut across the defender. And it's all so easy for teams to defend crosses against us. Granted, today Son whips one in beautifully, and Davinson Sanchez glances it across. Good header, excellent delivery from Son again. But consistently in these games, I'm noticing the quality of our crosses and the quality of our runs it's just, if that's how we're going to play and teams are going to force us to beat them out wide, number one, the quality of our crossing needs to improve. Number two, the quality of our runs need to improve. There needs to be more anticipation. I mean, this coming from Ronaldo's biggest fan, I've constantly said his best attribute is just his movement. And seeing him now again, just being able to watch him week in, week out, I haven't missed a United game. You see just how clever he is at every moment, when he gets back on side, when he commits to his run, how he arrives. It's just for someone who scores as many goals as Kane, you would think that he would have a better understanding of it, but he seems to be the worst perpetrator. And it's something that I noticed in that World Cup final against Italy. Was it World Cup? Euros. Jeez, I thought England nearly won the World Cup. Yeah, in that Euros final, he's surprisingly poor at making runs in the box. And coming to think about it, when I watch Kane's goals, a lot of them aren't clever movement. It's either the pass was absolutely pinpoint or the defense was running back. But against a set defense in the box, when your wing back cuts in and has time to pick a pass, and once he gets to that point, it's always a pullback. He's not actually great at creating that yard you need. And to be honest, a few times, once he does, he's just missing the ball. I mean, the Liverpool game, was it Liverpool game? I can't remember which. And he did it in the Euros final. He did. The ball came back to him, completely miskicked the ball. And we kind of swept it under the rug. But yeah, that's something that that we are leaving a lot of goals on the table there. We're leaving a lot of goals on the table. I noticed. I was watching one of our streams. We were calling for more shots outside of the box, just to kind of stretch the defense, kind of. And I was thinking, and I was like thinking to myself, we could shoot from outside the box to stretch the defense, but I don't think it would make the defense think a lot, because again, who's doing that? Is it Skip? Is it Højbjerg? Is it Winks? And if I'm a defender, if we're trying to scare you with that, I'm thinking shoot 100% of the time, because you seem frustrated to me. I'm willing to take my bets. If Højbjerg beats me with a 40-yard screamer, I'll put my hands up. He tried one again against Watford, trickled into the keeper's hands. Yeah, I mean, our midfield doesn't pose a lot of a goal scoring threat. So breaking down these teams through the middle, I mean, it's a nice problem. Do you know what I mean? Like, before we were turning up against these teams, scoring the first minute, and we'd be getting walloped by the likes of Watford and West Brom for God knows how long, and it wasn't a matter of how we're going to break them down. It was a matter of how do we give Dyer and Sanchez the concentration span to be able to withstand 90 minutes of straight pressure. So it's a better problem to have. This is a problem that Chelsea had with Lampard, just trying to break down these teams and, you know, being creative enough to do something about it. To me, if you even look at the difference in quality between Chelsea's fullbacks and the quality in the delivery you're getting, even just as all-round players, in every single aspect, granted it's Chelsea, they've got a ton more money than us, but in every single aspect, they are way better than us from the fullback position. The runs that they're getting from Havertz, the areas that he's picking up, I mean, even the fact that they have Lukaku, they just have a lot of dynamism and a lot of quality in those areas. And when I look at us trying to solve those same problems, I mean, City, even the way that they utilize their fullbacks is extremely like untraditional, especially Cancelo, who I've been wearing the t-shirt for lately. You look at Liverpool, Robertson and Trent, you know, the quality Trent possesses, the positions he picks up, the creativity he plays with. If we are going to rely on wide players, now you're looking at these teams with who are being forced to break down teams, and you look at the quality that they have in these wide positions, the directness and the quality that they're getting from those players, and then you look at Spurs, it pales in comparison. It really does. And top four, like I think if I compare us to those three, which other teams have a problem with being ball dominant and having to break teams down? It could be them. I don't know how Man United aren't really that team that you're making them break you down. But if this is a circumstance that continues going into the long term, I do think that something has to give. We've dominated possession in the last few games, and I think it has made it harder for us to score. I think it definitely has. We did whoop Crystal Palace 3-0. That was a very good performance. I mean, we got a blinding goal from was that the game Lucas Moura scored a ridiculous goal? I mean, Palace had a red card within that in the 37th minute, but I mean, by that point we were already 2 up, and we did look good. Kane took his goal well. But yeah, just going forward, I do think a little bit more dynamism kind of needs to come into those fullbacks, which something you need to keep out for. I mean, we're not going to put Doherty there. We're not going to put Tanganga there. That's not going to solve any of our problems. So Sessegnon needs to be knocking on that door. And I think Conte is as ready to put him in as he makes himself available and justifiable. I think that left back position is extremely important to our success this year, and we have seen Sessegnon in there make a real difference, and I think that could be something to watch for Sessegnon, the Sessegnon kind of revival. That's my official call on this one. Sessegnon to play a key role in our fullback situation. But yeah, I mean, that's my kind of big points to kind of catch up on again. fingers crossed for that semi-final against Chelsea. I mean, yeah, I'm excited for that one. Positive vibes for me around the team and Tottenham and the fans. We're loud again. I mean, Tottenham fans, we are the best in terms of backing our team. There's been some instances of less of that, but we have been very good again. And you know what? If you have any other ideas for our attacking problems, that how we can put more prowess, if you're seeing something different to me, just put it in the comments, and we'll see. I do reply to all of them, and I do read through them, so they're all appreciated, I promise you. So like, subscribe, and Nigel's views.